to go ahead.
Okay.
So first of all, thank you guys for joining us today, and thank you for participating in this what we hope to be something really revolutionary for Jewish schools in the tri-state area. It's been an incredible last few weeks, and we've seen incredible buy-in and real unity among schools here. I just want to thank Bryna from Jewish Education Project, who has really helped pioneer this. And I want to introduce Rachel Sorolnik, a veteran fundraising specialist, specifically also in the day school space, and Jonah Halper, who's going to be giving our presentation today, also a veteran in the fundraising space. So as of now, we have about 9 schools that are 100% committed to joining, totaling of about $2 million. So that's really going to make a dent in the hearts and minds of Jewish supporters of education in the tri-state area, and we're just super excited. So what we're going to focus on today is Jonah is going to be sharing with us his take and sort of the charity method of bringing on charity matchers. Now, there's a lot of old school philosophy that needs to be applied to this process, because at the end of the day, you are going to solicit for major gifts from major supporters, and we apply that a lot to the charity ask. But there are also some wonderful angles and tips and tricks to really give these philanthropists what they really want, because essentially that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to change the conversation and give these matchers something that they really want in order to get their support. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Jonah. We hope that the presentation would take about 30 minutes, 25-30 minutes, and then Jonah will open it up to questions at a certain point. So thank you guys so much. Looking forward. Jonah, take it away.
All right. Good morning. Can you hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me. All right. Excellent. Beautiful. All right. So I'm just sharing my screen here. One moment, please. There we go. All right. So you should be seeing my my presentation here. Moshe Hecht, do you see my presentation? Okay, good. I think.
Josh, I see it.
Okay, good. Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate you. Let me know. Okay. So basically, as Moshe so eloquently shared with everybody, the focus of today is to talk about getting the initial matcher money. And in the charity world, obviously, matcher is specific to those individuals who are going to make it possible for you to take your campaign to the general community and help them leverage their dollar. The idea of turning their $1 into $4. And that means the individuals that you're going after are effectively major donors, major gift donors, and the approach with them is like any major gift ask. However, we're going to obviously look at it through the lens of charity, and there are some unique selling points or benefits of approaching a major gift donor through this lens as a charity campaign matcher. So with that, we're going to get started. So I'm not going to assume anything. I think that it's important to kind of build up from the bottom up and explain the various audiences who you should be looking at, because this is one of those no stone should go unturned kind of things, because if you find the right person who could be a matcher, it could obviously engage somebody who's already involved in a much bigger way, or it can even engage somebody who has previously not been involved. So the first and foremost audience that tends to get the most attention are individual donors. These are people who make individual gifts, whether it's cash, stock, credit card, whatever it may be. But these are individuals who make the decisions on behalf of their family, and the people you're interacting with are effectively one or two people. It's usually husband and or wife. If they're married, and obviously if they're not, then it's just the individual. But this is very important because it means that the stakeholders or the people you're looking to sell this to are really one or two people, and that's it. It means if you get their buy-in, then you more or less have yourself a matcher. And the reason why I emphasize that is because then you have other audiences, whether they're foundation donors or corporate donors, who both have a board of some kind. Foundation donors have a board who make the decisions on how they award grants, and those grants are often dictated by a set of rules about what the foundation funds. They may have policies of only funding local programs. They might have programs that funding that only focuses on education. But whatever case may be, when it comes to the difference between individual donors and foundation or corporate donors, is the idea that the number of chefs involved in making the decision are limited to the individual, while foundation corporate giving have multiple chefs involved. And that's important because you can't apply for a match for a charity campaign from a foundation or corporation unless you're looking to go at the top. If you're just going to be a piece of paper in their inbox and applying for a grant or for a corporate sponsorship in kind of traditional methods, you'll find that either it will take a long time or you'll be talking to 18 different people and none of them are the right people. And like anything, whether you're going after a foundation gift or corporate sponsorship, it helps to go to the most influential person, the executive director, the president of the board, or whoever it is that runs the show over there, to kind of develop the relationship with them, emphasize the campaign and the importance of the campaign with them, and then obviously if there are people that need to be involved in the process, they'll rope those people in, and it's coming top down, which means that the ability to recruit a foundation or a corporation and to be a matcher is magnified exponentially. So the other difference that I alluded to is that foundations tend to have a decision-making that's tied to their mandate. If they fund specific programs and services that are specific to the organization, if they do something for if their focus is seniors or children or education or special needs or whatever it may be, you have to fit within their construct. They're not just going to give you a gift for your charity campaign unless your mission aligns with what their mission is. As opposed to corporate donors, which and this is very important, unless is really an individual who is giving you a gift through their company, it's going to be an emphasis on co-branding. So what that means is that your organization needs to align from an image perspective and an audience perspective in line with the company. So if you are an organization that does teen programming and stuff for teens, and you have a very large audience of teens, you may have luck going to a company like, I don't know, Aeropostale or some clothing company that skews to that demographic to say that your look and your feel and your website and who you are and your audience aligns with the product that we sell, and therefore we'll be a sponsor. So unless, again, I want to make differentiation, unless it's a corporate gift, but it's really coming from the individual, if you're going to get corporate money for the sake of corporate money, it has to align and co-brand with your organization. So that means you need to be paying attention to how you look and feel your own organization, and also the audience, and if there's a sell there, an opportunity there to tell them about getting in front of a very large audience. And this is especially poignant for a charity campaign because of the true kind of explosion that happens when you have a room full of influencers and people making calls on behalf of your organization and reaching out to their networks. That kind of grassroots campaign can be something that's very attractive to a corporate client if you find the right fit. Now, donors versus non-donors. What I'm going to emphasize on these two are really 2 points. Whether you're a donor or a non-donor, you can't look at them like an ATM machine. And this is just a good best practices with fundraising in general. People can tell the difference between whether you're treating them like an ATM machine or if you're treating them like a true partner. If you're looking to get a check is the equivalent of saying, hey, can I have $1,000? Thank you very much. And the next time I speak to them is 1 year later. That doesn't work. And when it comes to asking someone to be a matcher for a charity campaign, you're uniquely positioned to make them a partner. Because whereas you could normally go after somebody and say, hey, we need $5,000, we have this campaign, and make it a linear experience where there's no real connection and partnership, Charidy's whole message to matchers is that you are going to help and be a partner with us to leverage the community to give. That's a very powerful message, and all the kind of messaging of the 24-hour campaign and all or nothing and the quadrupling of the dollar that's given, All of that is made possible because of the matcher, and that takes the relationship from being a transactional one to making it a true partnership. And that's a very, very important to the messaging of when you reach out to these individuals of saying, we have a resource, we have an opportunity here, and we need you as a partner to help us leverage that opportunity. So that's very, very important when you're approaching somebody, and that can also be the difference between taking somebody who is a non-donor and making them a donor. They may be historically sitting on the sidelines because they've not felt something that was compelling that would bring them in and say, you know what, this is a way that I can make a difference and I can magnify the impact of my gift, and it might be an opportunity to bring in someone new. Or if it's someone who's an existing donor, it's a way to say to them, we don't view you just as another check. We know you give $1,000 a year, but you know what? We've always valued the relationship, and here is a unique opportunity we're bringing to you, right? You're not begging, right? You're giving them an opportunity to basically turn their gift into a true investment. I found that especially audiences or potential matchers or donors who have the capacity, who are in finance, or own or operate a hedge fund, or in real estate, who can appreciate and value the ability to magnify the impact of their gift. They can give. Look, in the end of the day, if they're not giving to you, they're giving to somewhere else. It's an economic principle, right? If you're going to go buy a Ferrari, then you're not spending that money on something else. Opportunity cost is what it's called. I was trying to remember what it was called. So this idea of going to somebody and saying that you can leverage your dollar for our school is a very powerful message to say opportunity costs, you should spend it here and not somewhere else. We don't ever put down another organization, but there's nothing wrong with saying that there's no other place that you can get a better bang for the buck than to be a matcher for our charity campaign. So whether you're talking about new donors or non-donors, this is a very compelling message to package it as a partnership with the school to leverage people's gifts, and also from the perspective of being able to turn this as a true investment, an impact of their dollar, that it can raise a lot more money in the community. And also, I failed to mention the ability to bring in a lot new donors or people who have not historically given on the lower level. It builds a strong base of support. So all those new $18 checks or $1,800 checks that come in on game day, on the campaign day, is largely to the credit of those matchers. Without those matchers, you would never have had this new base of giving. And God willing, with you keeping in touch with these donors and growing these new donors who gave in on the campaign day, that will become a new, stronger base of support, which of course helps spread the burden of supporting your organization to a larger audience, which is a very powerful message. So the question is, where do you find prospective matchers, right? This has always been like the $64,000 question in fundraising. Where do you find them? Where do you find these potential matchers? And the reality is that it follows the same rule as any other fundraising, right? You're not going to open up Forbes magazine and look for a potential matcher. You're going to be looking at your inner circle. You're going to see who is in your circle of influence, people who you have relationships with, whether it's a professional relationship, whether it's a personal relationship. Whether you gave a donation to one of their causes and you're able to kind of ask them to return the favor, is to basically look within who's your 1 degree of separation with your organization. And this can mean donors, it can mean friends and family, it can mean volunteers, it could be your board members. In fact, it should definitely be your board members, as well as relationships with your staff and your neighbors. The reason why I emphasize board members is because no one's been drinking the Kool-Aid at your organization more than your board members. And if it talks about getting a degree of separation, it's not just your own 1 degree of separation. As executive director or head of school, yes, you may have a circle of influence, good connections, and potential donors to be matchers. But you should absolutely share the burden with the board of directors and say, look, this is a unique opportunity. Who is in your own networks that we could approach with this unique opportunity and get them to be a matcher for this campaign? And the one thing I would like to go 1 level deeper is not to just ask that question in broad strokes. If you could do a little bit of research and see who is in the network of your board members, to see who their circles of influence, who do they play golf with on Saturday, or who do they, who belongs to their temple, or who goes to their country club, and then to ask those specific board members and say, hey, do you know Barry Johnson? And if they say, yeah, I say, you know what, we'd love to reach out to them to be a matcher. That's going to be much more powerful than to go to your board members and say, hey, do you know somebody who might, could be, would be a matcher for the campaign, the more specific you can be with your prospecting, the more successful you can be. And obviously this applies to all categories, but especially with your board of directors. So the other thing is, and sometimes people assume the answer to this question is, who should approach these prospective matchers? And if you're going to make a pitch, who should be there? Now, the obvious one is usually going to be the development director or head of school, the person who's kind of largely responsible for the fundraising efforts and initiatives of your school. However, you should also consider maybe tag teaming with somebody else. The inherent value of tag teaming is really two things. One, it lets you or whoever it is that's not doing the talking when you're speaking be able to kind of recalibrate and see how the conversation's going, get a sense of what's being shared, what's being missed, what the body language of the person you're speaking to, other things that they may be saying that if you were talking or you were the one on, you might be missing, is an opportunity for you to kind of take a step back and get the better perspective. And also, it gives you the opportunity to kind of add some weight to the conversation, right? You're taking this seriously. This is not just a one-person meeting. We're coming as a collective to talk to you about this unique opportunity. And then the things I want to talk about now is why it adds a level of expertise or credibility and the types of people you can bring. One is are the friends of the person you're meeting. So for example, if a board member recommends a certain person to be solicited for a matcher, that board member should be part of the conversation. They have a collegial relationship or a personal relationship with this individual. Bring them to the meeting. It will add a level of credibility because this mutual friend is adding kind of that credibility to this conversation and saying, I believe in it, I support in it, I support this school, I think you should as well. So bringing the friend along to the meeting is very effective if they're willing to do it. Another one is the maven, the expert. So you may have, if you're raising money for your school or specific programs that are going to be rolled out, and you have an opportunity to bring someone who's a maven, an educational expert, or somebody who can kind of add gravitas to the pitch to say, we're not just asking you to fill holes, right? This is not just to make payroll. We're not doing this campaign just to kind of get by. It's to grow the school. So if you're going to talk about growing the school, who can you have in the room that can speak to that end? Say, look, this is where we see ourselves in a year from now if we can raise that $1 million or $100,000 or $200,000, whatever that dollar amount is. But to have someone there who could talk about what the future of the school will look like, the education, the academics, the sports programs, extracurricular programs, special needs programs, whatever it may be, to have that expert there to kind of get them excited and salivating over the prospect of taking the school to this new level. And lastly is the CEO or another person, like the president of the school, to be in the conversation, because much like I said in the beginning, having two people in the room says you mean business. If the second person in the room is the president or some uppity up in the organization, that sends a very positive message to the matcher that this is not a simple ask. There's a lot of consideration that's went into this. This presentation is serious, and that you should accept or ask for a serious amount of money. And that's why I recommend if you can't get the friend or you can't get the expert, or you can get a mix of the two, someone who may be the president of the organization and is the friend or something along those lines, having the CEO there or the president there or somebody there that can add the gravitas to the solicitation would be effective as well. Now, when it comes to getting the meeting, very simply, your goal is to get your foot in the door. When you make the phone call or send the email, whatever it is, you don't do the whole pitch on the phone or the email. You just want to pique the interest and say there's a unique opportunity that's coming up. Works very successfully for other schools, wonderful track record, and we think you might be a valuable help to this initiative. Do you have 20 minutes that I can come to your office and speak to you about what we're doing and get your advice and possible participation? That's it. Don't go into the whole bells and whistles. Don't go explaining the structure and how a charity campaign works. The goal is to get the meeting, get your foot in the door so it can be an in-person meeting. You're asking for a lot of money, so the right thing to do is to get the in-person meeting. Of course, there are examples of individuals who are fine with getting solicited over the phone, but that's going to be your judgment call. The more personal, the better. It's harder to say no to you when you're sitting there in the room and you're taking the time out and come there yourself with whoever it is from your organization to make the pitch. So your goal is to get the meeting. And of course, this is an active campaign. This is an active solicitation. You're coming in to say, we are doing this campaign. We either have other matchers, or if it's not no other matchers, saying we want you to be the first matcher, and we want to ask you for a specific amount of money, and it's by a specific deadline. This is not, we hope you can support us, and would you consider a gift, and leave it open-ended. This is a very specific request for a very specific campaign. And also, just something to consider also, and the reason why I put the golf clubs here, is that it doesn't necessarily have to happen in the boardroom. In fact, a lot of the best solicitations happen when it's somewhere that's comfortable for the donor. So when you get the meeting, don't think it has to be at their office. It could be in their home. It could be on the golf course. Whatever is most convenient for the individual. Anybody who does fundraising knows this, that it's not necessarily about doing it in the right place as the kind of the boardroom, but rather the right place means somewhere it's comfortable, where you can have the attention of the individual without getting distracted, where there's it's easy to hear the person. That's why I don't suggest doing it in a bar, but doing it somewhere where you can have their attention and their ease, and being able to get the solicitation clear the first time. The pitch, very simple. The pitch always has to start out with the mission. Your goal is to get $100,000 because why? What is the impact of that $100,000 if that's your goal? What is that impact? And not the method. You don't talk about how charity operates. You say our goal, we're trying to raise $100,000 because it will accomplish X. After that, after you explain the mission part of the pitch, you can go into the more technical and explain the method and the power of leveraging the gift of these matchers to go out to the community and raise money. And then you can explain the contingency, that it's all or nothing, and it's within 24 hours. It's a very powerful thing to tell a donor that this is not going to be a 3-month campaign. To get in there and say, we're doing this, it's 24 hours, and it's all or nothing, and we're going to get it done, tells the donor that not only do you mean business, but the donor can feel good that it got done, it's set, it's done, it's complete, and then you can move on to the next thing, or you can do whatever it is, but the donor knows that this is not going to be a dragged-out campaign where it'll be a tremendous time suck. They can see that the impact is there in real time. And then lastly, show them a live campaign, or show them ideally a live campaign or a completed campaign, so they can get a sense of how community really drives this thing. And of course, with the community component comes the recognition. The fact that their name is on the top, and you've got so many people who are giving donations online, you can see on the ticker on the right-hand side, or the fact that it's shared on Facebook, and on WhatsApp, and texting, and that you've got 50 people in the room on the campaign day in your operation room, making the calls and rah-rah, and it's all due to these 3 matchers. It's very powerful. Now, recognition, of course, doesn't have to mean their name are in lights. They may use their company name or something that doesn't say, Jonah Halper or something along those lines. But when we say recognition, is they feel the recognition because their gift is the leader up there, and they can see the impact in the community. So again, mission first, then you discuss the product and how it leverages the community, discuss the contingency aspects of all or nothing 24-hour campaign, and let them see how this truly galvanizes the community and helps build the base of support for future years. That you get all these new donors coming in, and it's a very, very valuable experience and a long-term sustainable model as well. Now, when you ask the question, and the old rule book of fundraising is when you ask for a specific amount of money, you shut up, right? You stop talking, you let them respond, you hear what they have to say, and the answer from them usually is either yes, right? Yes, I'll commit to it, which is great, which means that it's just a matter of working out logistics of getting them the pledge letter and getting that information into Charidy so that they are an official matcher, which we will, of course, talk about offline. But then there's, of course, the no's or the maybes or any time to considers. So when someone says no, it's important to just understand where the no is coming from, because sometimes no doesn't mean no unconditionally, like it's a no and get out. Sometimes no means, I'm not necessarily sold on what you're doing. I don't really understand the model of it. I'm not sure I want to be a matcher. That's not my role. So it's important to ask an open-ended question to say, I understand you're saying no. What is compelling you to say that? What is not compelling you about this campaign? And then you can begin to unpack a little bit about what the no is coming from. And of course, you have to know boundaries, and you have to know when no is no. But at the same time, you might be able to address some of their concerns, whether it's a lack of faith in the model, their lack of faith in your ability to maybe get other matchers, you might say, okay, if I go get 2 other matchers, maybe you can be the 3rd matcher, and they'll say, yes, if you get 2 other matchers, I'll help you, cinch the deal and be the matcher number 3. Or they may say, I don't want to be in lights, I don't want my name on the top, that's not my thing, but I'll give you $10,000 on the campaign day. Or they may say, if you hit your goal and you want to do a bonus round where you need matching money for a bonus round, I might be your guy there, or I might be your woman there. So the bottom line is, it's important to just go one step deeper when someone says no, or they're wishy-washy on the matter, to ask them to open up and say, what is it that's making you hesitate? And then, of course, if they say they need time to consider, that is fine. It's a big question. Sometimes you're asking for a lot, or usually you're asking for a lot of money. You should say to them that obviously we're looking to a campaign on this campaign day, and if you're doing the day school giving day, there is a day that you are doing it with other day schools, which will also help in building the case for why a matcher should do it, because they're not the only school there, and there's kind of proof in the pudding that there's a whole bunch of other reputable schools on the line. But also make sure that if they want time to consider, you give them a real deadline to say, okay, I appreciate it. If you could, when do you think you let me know? Do you think Monday would work? Follow up with you Monday, or a couple days from now, whatever the case may be. Ask for a real deadline, and then follow up with them accordingly. So that's it. I'm going to open up to questions. I kind of marathon through it. Each one was an independent component to it. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those questions at this time. Let me stop sharing my screen here.
Hey, Jonah, it's Josh Kaplan.
Hey, how are you?
Good. So excellent presentation. Thank you. The biggest concern is going to somebody who, we're kind of starting dinner season very soon, and it's kind of like that's our annual campaign, annual fund campaign. We'd like, if we do a $100,000 campaign, we'd like $25,000 from this person, but we don't want it to take away from whatever they do for the dinner. We want it to be additive. What's the right approach? What's the right wording? How would you approach that?
So first of all, the unique thing about the charity campaign is, and the reason why this doesn't usually cannibalize other campaigns, is because of the unique 24-hour model. In other words, if you were talking about a capital campaign or something along those lines, that's always question number one, right? We want to build a building. How do we make sure it doesn't cannibalize our annual campaign? And that's a serious question, and that's a serious conversation, and it's doable. Even in that scenario, you make sure the messaging is poised in a way where you can make sure to raise money for and not also. Hey, Mike, can you just hit the mute button on your side? Because you got crazy feedback. Perfect, thank you. So when it comes to specific for charity and an annual ask, so first of all, you should make sure to echo the idea that it is a finite campaign. It's a 24-hour campaign, and this is something to do above and beyond your existing givers. In fact, what happens is people view this as, I give to the annual dinner or I give to the annual campaign, but this is a separate line item. They don't view this as part of their annual fund. They view this as a unique opportunity to kind of plug in and say, we have these 3 matchers who are stepping up to give. I should give to this specific campaign. And the message to those matchers should be that same thing. Because if you explain, in fact, this might be an effective tool as I'm kind of talking it out, when you meet with a matcher and explain how this works, especially if they have concerns about the dinner, to say, this is how it works when you go to the general community. A 24-hour campaign is something that's completely separate from the annual fund. But and therefore, when I'm coming to you, for you to designate money to be a matcher, this is something that's a unique opportunity. Context is important too. This is a day school giving day. It's not just you. So for you to say to a major donor that, yes, we're doing a dinner and we want everyone to participate in the annual fund, but we also want them to take advantage of the fact that we're participating in a New York area day school campaign that's a 24-hour campaign that doesn't have you pledging money that can be due in December. This is something that's give now on your credit card now and get it done. If you frame it in the way that it's a finite thing and it's part of a larger initiative, that should take care of the issue, both on the matcher side and in the community. It just is not a non-issue really, because people understand that it's existing. This campaign is existing because it's a giving day and because matchers made it possible. for them to approach. So I can help you, or Rachel can help you, whoever's going to be helping you on your specific campaign, work on the messaging, both to your matchers and to the community. But we'll make sure that we recognize the fact that there's an upcoming dinner, but we also want to be able to make them conscious of the fact that this is going to be a unique 24-hour campaign that's kind of above and beyond and separate.
Okay, thanks. Which is one follow-up. Is there any? I know there was a one-sheeter that I had gotten from you guys. Is there any? I don't know, a PowerPoint or a 3-page like presentation that you would show to a potential donor? Would you go to show them the website live? I mean, how would you approach it?
Okay, so we fortunately, the good people, we good people at the Charidy have a beautiful presentation piece. I don't know if it's a one-sheeter. It's a double-sided one-sheeter, if I remember right. But basically, it's for the matchers, something that you can present to them and speak over. It's something you can hand to them and talk about. Show them some active campaigns on the site. There's always something going on the Charidy site. And even if there's not one happening right at the moment, you can show them a completed campaign. But absolutely, we have some prepared materials that we'll have for you and that you can use.
Thank you.
Are you still getting feedback from me?
And I hear about this.
A lot of talking behind you.
Okay, just have my headphones in. I just want to add to that, Josh, that what we found is the 3 best things to use for matchers are as follows. So we have a landing page, which really is fully directed towards matchers. So charidy.com/matchers. Okay. On the bottom of that, you will find an actual one sheet that you can, if you're going to give it to them physically, you can print it out. In addition to that, Jonah just put it in the chat. In addition to that, what we found to be most effective across the board is a live campaign. We have 3 live campaigns happening right now, and from now until the end of December, we should probably have a campaign almost every day. Showing him a live campaign, to seeing all those donors coming in live on the campaign, to see, like, wow, look what they're accomplishing. The dollar amount rising every second, the amount of donors that are participating, and he's then visualizing, like, wow, let's do this for our school. Let's get this done for us as well. So you have those 3 things that we have seen to be, proven, and then of course your great charm and your personality to close the deal. Do we have any other questions today? I see someone just joined us over here. The initials YD. You look like a famous rabbi of some sort, Rabbi.
Yeah,
you look like an important person. You want to introduce yourself, maybe? You're sitting at a desk thinking, vertrachting, very deep. Your finger on your thing.
I think he's frozen.
Oh, he's frozen? Okay. Okay, do we have any other questions today? Speaking up, I think your microphone is off, and you are freezing. Okay. If we don't have any questions over the next minute or two, please, this video will be recorded, and we are going to send it out in all its full detail. Thank you, Jonah. Excellent job. Be sure to be in touch with your charity fundraising specialist. So if it's part of the Education Giving Day, we're talking about Rachel or Jonah or Menachem or Bryna from JEP. Also could address a lot of questions. And we're just getting started here on the training. This is part 1 of a 4-part webinar to train you in. And your fundraising specialist will be available to hold your hand through the entire process. Okay? So thank you, everyone, so much for joining today. We will be in touch.